What is up, my boo-boo patooties? I hope everybody's doing good. It is late Wednesday night when I'm filming this. I just got in from work a few minutes ago, and we're here to do our midweek extended discussion on today's Oracle and Tarot reading. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, you can find me on Instagram at Liz_Taylor_Magick, and I write our readings out earlier in the day on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we come on here and we do our video. So you can see these a little earlier in the day if you'd like to go follow me there. There's a link in the description box below. And yeah, I do some fun stuff in my stories, and it's just another good place to get more content from me. Yeah, and before we get started, if you are liking my content, then like this video, comment if you don't know what to say. An emoji is helpful. You can save it in a playlist. Any little action that you take on videos helps content creators get their messages out to other people who could benefit. And you guys, you know what? One thing I really nerd out on and get really excited about is when I look at my demographics and I see where people are tuning in from around the world. And I was so excited to see that we have viewers from Germany and Italy and Turkey and Russia and Ukraine and Syria. And so it's so exciting that I'm like connecting with you all around the world. So thank you for being here. And if you're watching and you're from anywhere on Earth, let me know in the comments where you're from. If anybody's from the space station, would love to hear about that. One time, one of my demographics on another channel that I used to just make like film stuff on, like I got like a whole like percentage of people from an unknown territory on Earth, and I was like, oh my god, if that was the space station, it would be so cool. But yeah, we also have Australia and the UK and Sweden, I believe we had, and Netherlands. So very exciting. I just love stuff like that. So cool. All right, so you guys, for the middle of the week, before we even get into our cards, like, has anyone had, like, I mean, I know that we've had last call for purging for the emotions as we're rounding out the end of the 2022 cycle. You know, we're finishing up winter, we're going into spring soon, just going into March. And it's all very exciting, but I feel like this Pisces energy is really pulling from the deepest depths of the subconscious. All of these old like memories and wounds and traumas and experiences from childhood have been coming up for me, and it's like, it's funny because they're being triggered by recent experiences that have been happening that have been, you know, kind of hurtful or jolting or upsetting or disappointing or whatever. And so these triggers, like, I'm just like workshopping myself for you guys, because this is kind of what we've been, you know, being led toward. Hold on, I've got like a notification. So the triggers will come up, right? And I, you know, will like think about like, oh my gosh, you know, feels, you know, fill in the blank. And instead of being like taking an action that's like a retaliative action or like saying something back, like I've been trying to just sit with it myself before I do anything that I can't take back. Still, when you start going off in your mind, I mean, that's still considered reactive. But I feel like it's at least some restriction not to take an action, not to say anything yet, right? Until you're in a neutral place where you've taken, you know, responsibility for your side and you can communicate without blaming, without coming from a sense of like a victim consciousness. You can be emotionally like neutral and not get in an upset, not get triggered again. And also you've gone through the checkpoints of those Kabbalistic, proactive, confrontational tips where you have prayed about it on your own. You've done all the work for yourself, or like you've really done a lot of self-inventory about the thing, and then you've played it out in your mind, like you've had a soul-to-soul interaction with this person where you talk things through in a loving way on a soul level, and then hopefully things have like really corrected themselves already to a certain degree. And then after that, it's like you check in to see like if you think that they're going to be receptive at all. Do they have ears to hear? Do they have an open heart? Do they have the capacity to understand? You know, are they conscious enough? Are they emotionally intelligent enough to get this? Or is it just going to cause more damage? So you have to kind of take it through those checkpoints, you know. What are your motives? Are you still coming from a self-righteous place where you want to justify yourself and have satisfaction and vengeance? Or are you trying to protect and improve the relationship? Are you coming at it from builder consciousness, or are you coming at it from destroyer consciousness? Are you coming at it from a place of giving and sharing, like being spiritually generous? Or are you taking? Are you coming from a place of taking? Like, I want you to admit, and I want you to own up, and I want you to apologize, and I want you to take it back. Like, are you approaching it from that way? Because then the conversation still shouldn't happen. So, yeah. So anyway, these triggers have been happening, and you know, you've been going through this process before, you know, addressing it, just sitting with it yourself. I've been trying to go back and relate the general theme of the upset with like that deep core wound from the past, from childhood. And maybe it's like you can see that this is played out like over and over again, like your theme, like you have certain brands for like chaos in your life, and like this is one of those patterns and themes. So I've been trying to like go back to these times where I can remember early where I may have been in a situation where I'm overwhelmed emotionally as a child. And then maybe the grown-ups, probably my parents, maybe grandparents or babysitters or whatnot, teachers, my older brother who would babysit us. But, you know, you go back and you think, okay, like whatever happened that galvanized you so. And you go back and you think, okay, like what was it that the grown-ups did that scared you or made you feel like you were a burden or in the way, or, you know, like they shamed you for something. And going back, it's like, oh, okay, I can see how my child self in that moment must have interpreted that and taken it on personally. And then when you can witness that from an adult place, you're telling your subconscious the difference, you know, between like, okay, I recognize this pattern and I know this isn't true. So we can go ahead and offload this and we'll bypass this from now on. We're going to rewrite a new program because there's a virus in this one. Because it's like, you know, as children, we don't have the capacity to truly understand. You know, we don't understand that the adults are stressed out about adult problems, or they're carrying around anger from their past and they're overwhelmed and they feel ashamed because they're not handling the situation, so they lash out, you know? So when you go and you look back, you feel so much more compassion for your little child self. And you realize for the first time how tender you were and sensitive. And your heart sort of breaks open again, but on your behalf, right? With compassion and understanding. And so if you can, that's sort of healing, because then you witness that, you know, where you feel like you were so alone and nobody saw what you went through and nobody understood how much it hurt your feelings. It's like now you're there with the child yourself, but it almost feels like a different person. And you're there with them to see it, to witness it, and to comfort them. And you can go through and tell yourself like, okay, you're actually safe. This adult is upset. It's not because of you. And they would actually feel bad about that, about hurting your feelings. But that doesn't excuse their behavior, you know. They need to learn this lesson for themselves. However, yeah, they did hurt your feelings really bad. And it wasn't because you were wrong or you did anything wrong. It's because they were afraid, they felt scarce, they felt inadequate. And so they were reactive, right? That's why we pause. We're trying to overcome the behaviors of being reactive and lashing out that continues to do these, like, this damage, this chaos, right? So, you know, you kind of explain to your inner child what's happening. And as you explain this to your inner child, it's like you all of a sudden, it's like your heart is open in that compassion. And because you're vibrating in that compassion, it doesn't matter. It's not directed. It doesn't have to be, compassion doesn't have to be directed specifically, because, like, that's not really what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to find the right way to say this. So it's like when you're in the vibration of compassion, it's like it's incoming and outgoing, and it's non-discriminative. So as your heart is open to compassion and vibrating with compassion for your childhood self, you can also, within that vibration of compassion, you start to have compassion towards those grown-ups, because you start to understand that they really just had that inner scared child within them too, that hurt child that was lashing out, that's trying to build a defense mechanism, right? Because the small child, the subconscious, what it does is it tries to interpret the situation as quickly as possible. But you're talking about a little child with, like, they don't have a fully developed brain or consciousness or understanding yet. So the subconscious just goes in like these blanketed black and white, this or that, extreme, polarized, you know, definitive beliefs. And so it's going to be defensive. It's going to try to protect you. It's going to try to make sure that you're not, you know, cast out from your pack that's going to take care of you and keep you secure, right? You want to belong. You don't want to be abandoned. So, you know, you start building up these defense mechanisms and these patterns, right? And so as these triggers come up and you're following them back and you're going through this process, and then you're starting to have all these realizations of all these patterns and everything coming up, and it's just flooding through you. And it's very emotional, and it can be very spontaneous. I know for me personally, this week has been like, I don't know, everything will be fine, and then I'll have to have, like, I'll start having these epiphanies and realizations coming up, and then I'll have to have a weep, and I'll be like, you know, kind of like trying to process it all and like journal about it and take it through the process, and it'll just be like, you know, weeping, crying, getting it out, trying to mourn it and like let go. Don't cling. Don't wallow and hold on to the story. Like, don't keep repeating that same, like, well, they did this and I was, like witness it, but then like start to process and understand it better, and then start to let it go. Don't keep holding on, right? We're trying to digest this, right? Not hold it in. So yes, so you're going through and you're letting these things go, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like weeping and going and trying to process these, and all of a sudden it's like my alarm will be all going off, and I'm like, oh, I have to get ready for work now, and then it's just like, okay, hurry up and shower, go to work, and like try to act normal to your tables, who then want to ask you questions like, how many candles do you guys have in here? And I mean, how long does it take to light them? And you're just like, I'm gonna kill you. So busy. I don't know. There's a lot. It doesn't take as long as you think. Oh my God. Okay. So having like laid that groundwork for all of this stuff coming out, if this is happening to you right now, you're in good company. A lot of people that I'm talking to are like going through like the tribulations, but it's fine. It's great, because this is that final purge, and things are going to start lightening up. Like, we're going into March, we're going into spring. the energy is going to shift because we're starting our new season and we're going to be like, yeah, patio drinking again. And, you know, just being out in nature and getting the fresh air and the sunshine. And we're going to feel zippy and we're going to have the energy to take on the year. I know, it's just like we feel like so tired and dead, like emotionally, like just husks. But it's fine. We're gonna get that life force. A surge of it is just gonna like shoot, like hit us like a bolt of lightning. Don't you worry. Okay, to the cards. So out of the Vintage Wisdom Oracle, we pulled Ancestors, we pulled Release, and we pulled Awakening. And so this is what we've just been talking about. I mean, if you're tired, it's because you've been breaking generational curses. Curses that no one in your family has been able or willing to really do the work on. And so this whole big like timeline shift, like we're in a new season, right? We are leaving the first half of our life. This is like, you know, me and my friend at work, we were talking about Saturn returns tonight. This is almost like everyone on Earth is getting like a certain version of a Saturn return right now. It's like the old story, the old timeline is finished. The first half of our life is done. We are now taking the videotape out, and now it's time to insert videotape part 2. We can rewrite our stories. Like the past doesn't matter anymore. So we're breaking these generational curses. We're digging up all of those subconscious patterns, because whatever our parents put on us is just the baggage that they had left over from what their parents gave them, and what their parents gave them, and what their parents gave them, you know, going further and further and further back, you know. Maybe it was alcoholism. Maybe it was rage and anger issues. You know, people that lived through the Great Depression, they had very stern, angry, like stressed parents, right? And then they became angry, stern, stressed parents in the 50s. And so then the baby boomers, you know, had those stern, angry, stressed parents. And so it's like they keep passing it on, right? Like addiction, right? Alcoholism, those things. Sex addictions, like codependency. Oh my God, how hard is it to spot and break codependency? I mean, the enmeshment that like goes passed down, it gets passed down to families. Enmeshment is like what people like think is love. Like so many people don't even think that love is love without enmeshment. Right? Enmeshment being like you're completely like emotionally responsible for everybody else around you, right? And that's like what people kept pushing on people that weren't, you know, they didn't have relationship knowledge or skills. But now it's starting to get more talked about, right? We're starting to learn more. And so we're starting to understand like, oh my gosh, so many problems, right? And so we're trying to do things differently. We're trying to heal the past and get over these patterns, these limiting beliefs, right? You know, like how many families of generations did like the artists never get to go be the artist because they were, you know, coming from like practical people who were like, well, we're not those kinds of people. And like, and like the parents were angry because they really wanted to be artists and they never got to be. And so they don't want their kids to be either. You know what I mean? And it just keeps getting passed down and passed down. You know, beliefs around money, beliefs around, you know, stern, harsh, hard beliefs around religion. It's like all these things just get passed down and they stifle us and they hold us back. And so what's happening now, this rush of emotion, it's like the vision I was given today was like there's been a clogged pipe, like our channel has been clogged. And the clog is these generational curses, these sins of the generation that have been all of that garbage that's been in our subconscious, the limiting beliefs, the insecurities, the fear, the lack, the doubt, the addictive tendencies, the hidden conflicting desires, right? All of those negative thought, emotional, behavioral patterns that are unconscious to us, right? All of those unconscious motivators, ways we sabotage ourselves, all of that has been clogged, right? And so the more work we do to acknowledge those things, to dig them up, to find them, and to dissolve them, right? By releasing them, by processing them, by grieving them and letting them go with forgiveness, with compassion. The forgiveness and the compassion, it melts that density down, and it opens up the flow again for the awakening, right? Because what we're wanting to call in at any given moment is the fulfillment, right, of our light. And so this clog has been holding us back from is the fulfillment of our potential, the fulfillment of that life that we feel in our heart that we could lead, where we are a free and liberated and happy and joyful and uplifted version of ourselves that's not held back with guilt, with shame, with expectation, with fear of judgment and abandonment. If we got over like all of those fears, all of our limiting beliefs, right? All of our prejudices or our insecurities or our lack, right? What if we could get over all of it and just live free, unencumbered, in a very decisive, intentional, purposeful way? What if we could be doing the things that light us up and living with purpose and having enough to not have to worry about being in survival mode? What if we were abundant? What if we were surrounded by people who understood us or even didn't, but just accepted us? We had a sense of belonging, and we had people who loved us and championed us and supported us, right? What if we had all that? It's like those are the material reflections of what we can achieve when we first achieve the fulfillment of the light from within, right? Because it's really the light that gives the fulfillment, right? And when you're fulfilled from within, you will be fulfilled without. You will align with those things that match that fulfillment with you, and they'll be sustaining because your internal landscape is going to be authentic and true. You're not going to have to try to hold it all together because it's so not in your nature. It's like the things that we have to like push ourselves so hard to do, to grit our teeth and bear it. We're not doing those things anymore. It's like we're authentic, like within. We've corrected those things within us. And so we feel at ease. We feel an inner sense of peace. We feel heaven on the inside. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, the outer realm, as it is in heaven, in the intrinsic. So the more that we can offload these shells of pain, of suffering, of negativity, of hard feelings, of judgments, where we can let it go, the more we're awakening, because we're just removing the layers that are keeping us disconnected from the light of source that's already radiating from within us, and that we are also living in and amongst at all times, right? So the more we offload that density, that negativity, the more that we are illuminated and awakened. The veil becomes thinner, right? And we feel it. We feel that fulfillment. And so when things are manifested, they manifest, but they're also fulfilling, and they're not as precarious, right? Because we've come to our own sense of inner truth, authentic truth, that's easy to sustain, right? Because we're not living a lie. We're not trying to live to please someone else's expectation of us. We're being true to our uniqueness and true to where source guides us, right? Because that feels good. We think we want to avoid like doing what God tells us to because we think it's going to suck. It's like the trick, or it's something that our ego jumps to that conclusion. But really what feels good, what feels the best, what feels the most natural is where like source is sort of leading you towards your purpose, because that's the thing that really gives you meaning and passion, and it's something that's a talent within you. It's a gift that was given you, and it feels good to express that and to share in that way. So we are breaking generational curses. And if it's felt like heavy lifting, it might have been. I kind of came to this epiphany today. I was like, oh my God, like I'm literally related to Andrew Jackson on my dad's side, and I joke around about it, but like, it's true. I'm always like, I really think I'm still living under the curse of like Andrew Jackson's sins against like the Native American people and like all the terrible things that he did as president. And also on that same side of our family, Zachary Taylor, a president that came later, was in my family. And I think he was there to try to correct some of the evil that Andrew Jackson did. But he wasn't in office for more than a year. He died with stomach issues, but he was actually against slavery. And he was in the progressive movement to try to start doing things to abolish slavery. So he was one of those early supporters of the abolition of slavery. So that he did some of that work, but he died after a year in office and left me with quite a load. So I've been trying to work off that. I've also found out through my dad's 23andMe. So if this is at all accurate, and like we know from like family tree stuff about the presidential relation, but according to one of those 23andMe's, we're also related to Marie Antoinette. So I'm literally breaking curses that are of historical significance. If you're ever like, Liz, how are you feeling? It's like, well, you know, I'm a bit dead right now. My soul has left my body. I'm exhausted. Trying to make up for literally historical bloodshed, warfare, and genocide. But how are you? Can I get you anything? Tea? Coffee? Oh my God. Okay, so underneath ancestors. Fuck me. Okay. You rattle me bones. Okay, under ancestors, we had Knight of Cups. And so I feel that it's like what we were talking about. It's like the more that we can break these curses and heal these wounds, these deep wounds from the past, the more that we will open ourselves up to the love of our life, whether that be literal people or a person or the relationship that we already in are blossoming, or we meet the love of our life. But we're just opened up to a life that we love so much that it fills us up, and we feel a sense of romance within it every day, and whimsy, and, you know, a lust for life that you come alive. And, you know, you can be theatrical and playful within, and more opportunities, more exciting things that'll sweep you off your feet, that'll expand you in your purpose, right? But that's why we're offloading all of this, so we can be free spirits to follow where spirit is taking us, you know, to create from our souls, you know, a life that is an expression of who we truly are on the inside, not who people have wanted us to be, to make them more comfortable, or, you know, make them feel like, I don't know, they were able to achieve something through us or whatever. You know, people put so much projection on others, and it's like they have no idea the weight that they really put on other people and the consequences that affect people's lives. And they're just like, yeah, I'm really like opinionated about your life. And they really don't think about it that much. And yet the weight they put on others, it's crazy. So liberate yourself from that and live your life, right? Live the life that you dream for in your heart of hearts. And also, when you become free of these things, I feel like it'll free you up for, like, when we heal our inner child stuff, it improves our romantic life. Our sex lives and our romance is actually like stifled by inner child trauma. It totally kills the sex drive, and it totally kills the romance in a relationship, because the partners end up trying to parent each other and get parented from each other, because both their traumatized inner children are coming up against one another, and that's why you're not acting like sexy adults together. You're acting like a dysfunctional family of siblings, and parent to child going back and forth, and that's not sexy. So do the family healing. It'll free you up for lots more sexy time and romance. Release was crowning the Four of Pentacles. And so I love this particular Four of Pentacles because it really describes, like, it kind of shows, like, it's like you see this woman, and it's like I see these symbols, and I see home and house and family and that sense of domestic bliss. And the Four of Pentacles, it can talk about becoming more balanced and more secure, but it can also quickly lean into control issues, trying to hold on to something, not letting go, hoarding, holding on to a grudge, perfectionism, control issues. And so unless by holding on to all of these old grudges, old belief systems, old anger, old emotional baggage from the past, it's like we're locking ourselves out of our dream life. Because when I see this gate here, you can tell it's for a mansion that's like life size of the one she's holding against herself. Like, this is her dream. This is her dream home. This is her dream life right here. And this gate on the other side of it, it's like if she could walk through that gate, she would be walking right up to that house. But look at all these locks, right? Mental landscape, emotional landscape, your material world, and your spiritual world. How are all of these doing, right? Because you have to have those in alignment, and you need them unblocked. And so this is what we're doing now. We're unblocking, right? And the more that we can unblock and let go of the past, and let go of that old programming, let go of those old beliefs, let go of old pain, old judgment, old expectations, old projections, old resentment, let it go. Start fresh. Not worth it. Release it so you can be free for your dreams to come in. And as you awaken that fulfillment, it's like the Strength card is here. And this Strength card, I love it because it looks like a little kid, and they're like playing dress up, and they're like this little like half little like kind of kitten cat thing with this lion. And it's like the inner child within is becoming stronger, and you are helping this little inner child tame the beast inside as well. And they're finding, it's like you've already had to show so much strength. And this, finding it within yourself to let all this go, to break these curses when nobody else would, to take your place, to do the work of hundreds of years of pain and suffering and toil that's affected God knows how many people. I mean, I've got 3 relatives that fucking changed the world in very extreme ways. I'm just trying to like clean up on aisle 5, bloodshed, misery, curses. But yeah, I know it takes so much strength to just find within yourself to do this final push. But after this, it's like, it's going to get so much lighter, and you're going to be so much stronger. Like, after cutting your teeth through these difficulties, when things get light, you're going to be like an X-Man, like of superhuman strength. You're going to be like a Marvel person comic, because you've gone through so much, through such extremities, that like when things are light and things start getting easier, and like your life starts getting harmonious, and it's actually changed for good from the inside, like permanent transformation, your outer world, when it changes and it starts improving, it's going to be consistent. It's going to be stable. It's going to be secure, because you're not unstable on the inside. You're not like, you know, up and down, up and down, up and down, back and forth, right? The more consistent you are, the more strong your power is, right? The more influence you have over your outer world. And that is as a co-creator. That is as a person who's compelling to others. Whatever it may be, your power comes from your consistency, right? From your non-fluctuating eternalness. Just like having affinity with the creator, right? So be strong. We are so strong. When things ease up shortly, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I'm so much stronger than I even thought. Things are gonna feel like a breeze, I promise. And you're gonna be able to create and do big things, because you've come through so much that things that seem impossible to other people, you're like, this is nothing. Like, I'll call manna from the air, whatever. Raise the dead, walk on water. It's just nothing. You have no idea what I've been through. All right, you guys. Well, I think that's all that we need to talk about tonight. I think we covered all the bases. The description box below will have the text from our blog. It'll kind of come at it from maybe some different facets that we didn't cover in our video. But I hope y'all are gonna have a good rest of your day. I'm off tomorrow, so we will be having our Thirsty Thursday romance reading for the week. So I look forward to seeing you then. Be good, but not too good. Ciao.